So, welcome back. Join us as we continue with the second half of Selling England by the Pound. So, we come on then to Firth of Fifth.
Firth
of Fifth.
Play on the river in Scotland, right?
Yep.
The estuary.
Yep. The estuary of Edinburgh. The Fourth of Firth. Anyways.
Wait, that doesn't sound right either.
The title is a pun on the estuary of the River Forth.
Oh, Forth. Okay, it is Forth.
Commonly known as the Firth of Forth.
The Firth of Fifth, the song, was 3 Tony Banks songs stitched together. And the song is famous for one massive goddamn thing, and that is the middle solo. And the middle solo was written by Tony Banks as a King Crimson-esque song on the piano that Peter took to the flute, and then Steve took to the guitar. And it's obviously a Genesis classic.
Yeah.
But obviously then Steve took it and made it to one of their best guitar solos ever.
I mean, it fucking rocks, right? It's great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a massive fan of a composed solo.
Yes, it doesn't feel chaotic or
Noodly,
I'm just going to show off here and do twiddly shit. He's kind of singing with it.
And I think he hits so many blue notes.
Yes.
But like he hits them. He's not transitioning from one thing to another. He's not bending to them.
Yeah.
He's playing blue notes and he's hitting them right in the spot.
Yeah.
And I think that that really makes the solo pop.
Yeah, and the backing really adds to it. You know, they rise and fall as the solo goes on. What I'm trying to say is that the rest of the band really add to the solo. I think they're instrumental, in its success simply by helping it shift from tension to resolution over and over again. Because otherwise it would just be a little bit insufferable or wanky if it was just him twiddling for 4 minutes. Whereas it's not, because the rest of the band's playing with him. Yeah,
and they really do accentuate the massive, huge feel.
Yeah.
And then Mike says he and Steve wrote on the guitar, and Peter and Tony wrote on the piano. And I've frankly written songs on both of these instruments, and they really do inform what type of song you'll do. You know, again, with that theme of multiple songwriters equals more variation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does lend a different flavor to the type of song you come up with.
Mm.
In my own experience, I have found that guitar leads to more rhythmic songs and piano leads to more melodic songs. And I have no idea if that's a hard and fast rule, but I can see how that would come out.
Yeah,
and
I think so too, for sure. I mean, it's the nature of the instruments themselves, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can completely see that.
I think this and Dancing with the Moonlight Night, I think they all contributed, and I think that comes through very much.
Yeah.
And I actually want to revise an earlier statement. You know, earlier I said that there's no song that offends me or I'm racing for the finish. This is a song I think it's interesting where I don't think the song gets good until the lyrics end, because I love all the instrumental parts, and then I find the lyrics not particularly memorable. I did have to Google a couple of words in the lyrics. I didn't know what a madrigal was or what Undinal songs were. So I had to Google that. But
apparently Tony Banks was quoted as dismissing the lyrics, saying they were, quote, one of the worst sets of lyrics I have ever been involved with.
No, I was going to say, I don't think they did not love this.
now, Ian, what does Undinal mean?
I also wrote that word down to look up later.
Undinol it's not Dunol. Yeah, you idiot.
Let's leave that in. All right, so Ian, who called me an idiot, didn't even bother to look up undinal. Apparently, it's related to water nymphs. Like, I'm totally serious. So it's just going with the sea aquatic nature of the lyrics.
No, these are probably some of the more prog via Mad Libs type of lyrics. And actually, I think this probably goes to show how talented Peter Gabriel was, because I think these are mostly Tony Banks lyrics. I think Peter really somehow tells a story and stuff. I think these were just like chucking some cool sounding phrases in.
I mean, the thing is, like, half the song is instrumental, right? So,
Yeah.
I really like the sort of the beginning of the lyrics. I really enjoy that bit from like a minute in. It feels quite conclusive in its sort of tone, the way they're playing, the way he's singing, which is weird for the beginning of a song, and I kind of like that. It's kind of like, this is the show, we're about to close sort of feel.
Yep.
And then it goes into an instrumental and then a guitar solo. It feels like it should be the other way around, right? But I think if it was the other way around, half the people wouldn't get to the lyrics at the end. So I kind of think the fact that the lyrics are there and what they are makes the song better because it's so weird.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually really like the sandwich aspect as well, where they put smooth kind of water nonsense, which is kind of what the lyrics are. Smooth water nonsense, epic solo, end on smooth water nonsense.
Yeah. I guess they do kind of finish up at the end as well with a little bit of lyrics, don't they?
Yeah.
But
and I guess that's what I was getting at, is that I think the sandwich aspect of the songwriting, I actually do find it to be a pretty satisfying song. I do understand why Tony, for instance, would not enjoy these lyrics, but, whatever.
Yeah, can't win them all.
On the note of cool sounding phrases, I did not get a chance to look at the sheet music of this, but it is noted that some bars of Banks's opening classical style piano intro are in 13/16 and 15/16, which are some of the rarest time signatures I think I've ever heard of. I could not name you another song that is written in 13/16 time.
I'm trying to remember how it goes now, if I could have clapped that out for you, but...
Yeah, I would be impressed. Yeah. I would be impressed if you could.
No, I was going to say this. I actually really, really like that intro piano. Do that, and then do half of the verse where they do all the floaty organy stuff, and then just give me the solo. I think the song really does stretch out quite a little bit. But, man, that intro solo, I think it transcended into prog legendary status. And I think Steve Hackett still, it's the centerpiece of his current live show. And why not? Like, man, the guy absolutely brings the heat.
Earlier I discredited myself as not being much of a Genesis expert, but I did write down, for some reason, this is the classic Genesis sound. So I don't know if I'm qualified to say that.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised that it is considered one of the Genesis classics, to quote Brian's notes. But I am surprised to learn that they continue to perform this live a lot because of what a fan favorite it was. Phil Collins took over on vocals.
Yeah, my suspicion as to what happened with this song on tour is they did edit it to kind of more what I'm describing, where they just did the first verse and then got to the solo toot sweet. I think Genesis, to their credit, are a band that are really keen on performing. And so I think as soon as songs started to not work for the audience, they snipped them pretty quick.
Snipped them. Good verb.
Snipped them. Gotta snip them.
It does have a bit of a spooky, haunty vibe, and it actually reminded me a bit of In the Wake of Poseidon, which also has a very nautical theme.
Well, so actually this is as good a time as any to bring this up. I think this song, or this album, is like a shot-for-shot re-record of Nursery Crime. So I actually think like Dancing with the Moonlit Night's pretty similar to Music Box. This is pretty similar to Seven Stones. Cinema Show's pretty similar to Fountain of Salamassis. More Fool Me and whatever that other one was. I know Harold the Barrel, blah, 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 blah. It's a pretty close shot-for-shot remake. The only other time I can think that they did this was in The Wake of Poseidon and in The Court of the Crimson King. But I actually love this as a way of going about music. Because sometimes I'm like, I actually want to just hear your first album or your best album. I just want to hear it again. Just a little bit differently. But like the pacing was great. Like I loved the content. I loved whatever. I loved something about it. And I just kind of want to hear it again just a little differently.
So Ian, that reminds me of something Angus Young of AC/DC is quoted as saying, "I'm sick to death of people saying we've made 11 albums that sound exactly the same. In fact, we've made 12 albums." Which I love.
Excellent.
I love that
yeah.
quote, and that's kind of pretty much exactly what you're saying. Some artists definitely do. I don't think any of the prog rock artists that I've listened to have been guilty of that, though, of like making the same album multiple times, to your point.
And I was going to say, I think this one's not as obvious as, say, AC/DC or the Ramones or something. I think it's like you almost forget that it happened because in between this, obviously we haven't talked about this, but there's Foxtrot, which is a completely different album.
This song was supposed to be on Foxtrot, right? And it got shot down.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of this album is scraps left over from Foxtrot as well. Yeah, which is fine enough. Like this, for me, there's a reason we're doing this and not Foxtrot. This album, for me, was more successful on some sort of level.
Well, Foxtrot didn't have any songs that made it to the charts.
No. And I am going on to the psychologist's couch at the very end of this podcast series about Foxtrot, because Foxtrot always tops the 70s progs list. Like, it's Genesis's best of the best 70s prog album, but I said no thank you. And we'll be discussing that in 30 episodes time, so hold on to your hats, everyone.
There wasn't enough whimsy.
There wasn't enough whimsy or smoothness. Screw you. So, we now enter the Phil Collins era of this album with More Fool Me. Don't have much to say about it. It's just nice to hear Phil. And I actually think Phil can sell a song just as well as Peter. Like, I think Phil is also bursting with soul.
Yeah, I really like this song. Again, yeah, I don't have a ton to say about it. It's a short, sweet little song. I did write down lacking indulgence.
Yeah.
And this is a good time to mention this as any. I read a little line in Wikipedia that sent me down a rabbit hole because I don't want to just take everything in Wikipedia for face value. But apparently, during his early career, Phil Collins had a potential to join Yes.
Oh.
So, according to Phil Collins, he got a audition with Yes, but then didn't end up going. When I dug into this a little farther, the two things I heard were really, really early into Yes, before he would have joined Genesis, Bill Bruford briefly left to go back to university. This is like 68. This is, way before he left permanently.
Before Yes took off, yeah.
And that was potentially when he would have auditioned, but, didn't go.
Yeah.
And then I did read something on, I'm sure a very reliable source, the Progressive Ears forum, and there was a comment that he did reach out, or the rumors he reached out to John Anderson when Bruford left, but at that point they already had Alan White. So don't know how much of that is true, or maybe that's just Phil Collins making stuff up 50 years later, 40 years later, but interesting what it could have been.
Yeah. So interestingly, Bill Bruford joined Genesis later for the touring band because obviously all of these songs are very hard to play on drums. And so you needed a prog drummer. So when, the 4-piece Genesis went on tour, they brought Bill Bruford.
I also liked this song. No, I was just going to say this type of song is what I was expecting more of on this album, to be honest. And so learning that it was co-written by Phil Collins and Rutherford Mike makes sense. And I wanted more of this. And I don't even necessarily think that it was Phil Collins' vocals, because I think Peter Gabriel could have sung this very well as well.
Yeah. I mean, they have an unbelievably similar vocal style.
I am so bad at being able to peel apart when Gabriel and and Phil. Sorry, I was going to call him Collins, and I was like, that sounds weird.
Gabriel and Collins. Yeah. When Peter and Phil.
And Phil. I find it so difficult to peel apart when Peter and Phil are singing together and when they are singing by themselves. This is something we sort of spoke about back nursery crime days.
Nursery crime, because they fully double-tracked a song.
Absolutely. Do they actually do much? Like, am I just missing the backing singing here, or is there just less?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah.
You can hear that there is backing vocals during the "You Be the One Who Was Laughing."
Don't know if they're like double tracking or.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess this is like a deeper problem with Genesis. You'll never figure out who's Phil and who's Peter.
They are so similar.
So they really do have a very similar voice.
Yeah, so that was just something that I noticed whilst listening through the album, is I still can't pick them out.
Pure confusion.
It's the land of confusion.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the lyrics, I liked the melody, and I really liked the harmonies.
Yeah.
I was kind of missing those on the rest of the album, or maybe it was just because the harmonies were so heavily featured, because the instruments in the back are just quieter, and you can just, it really lets the vocals shine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking about, does a leaner album a classic make? And I think it certainly on a song-to-song level, there's a leaner in the how you actually arrange a song sense. And like, this is what, an acoustic guitar and then Phil. And I think it really, you notice how good the song is because there's not as much going on.
There's not much to distract you. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is not a problem you had on the next song. The Battle of Epping Forest.
Returning to those Tolkienisms.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So this is Peter recounting a fanciful gang war that happens in the Epping Forest outside of London. So I have been to this forest on a Epping Forest battle recreation. No. No, I've been to this forest. It's just a big old flat walk full of deciduous trees. It's kind of nice. It's about an hour outside of London. And he tells a tale about gang bosses who got basically a hilarious cast of characters together to do battle to settle gangland disputes. And he does all the voices, jumps around between all the characters. The music similarly jumps from like snippet to snippet to snippet. It's a
big boy.
It's a chock full song.
It's quite a story, isn't it, really?
It's quite a tale. Quite a tale he weaves. So, Brian, you love to laugh and you love to rock. How do you feel about humor in music?
I wrote down this is the low light of the album for me. I think in my notes, this sums up how I feel. I wrote, lyrics are exceptionally stupid.
Okay.
May I read the first couple lines for our listeners who haven't heard this song can know what we're dealing with?
Okay.
Along the forest road, there's hundreds of cars, luxury cars. Each has got its load of convertible bars, cutlery cars, supercars. I hate it.
Okay. And do you want to mount a defense of humorous rock? That's a hot no.
I thought this song had its moments. It had its moments that it's flashes of brilliance. I don't think the lyrics were part of those flashes, but there's certainly some cool instrumental pieces. I think the thing that I was most disappointed in was the ending. We talked a little bit about how none of the instrumental solos had climaxes, and I felt like this song did not end as epically as I wanted it to. Felt like it was leading up to something amazing, but the end just didn't quite deliver for me. I do agree with Brian. I think the lyrics are silly, but they're fun. As opposed to having a immediate negative response, I just kind of took them for what they were, which is this little story that Genesis is trying to tell me.
I guess it's up to me now to mount a defense of this song. I didn't want to have to, but you backed me into a corner.
Devil's advocate. There you go.
No, here we go. Now I'm going to devil's advocate this song here. Okay, so to the point about the ending, it's funny because there's no ending that would have satisfied me because it's a ridiculous song.
Fair.
And it's like, could you have been, oh, wow, it was an epic battle and there's so much gang, awesome, whatever. And it's like, nope, the end of the song, spoiler alert for those who've been hanging off from listening to the end of the song for so long. At the end, everyone dies, and so the bosses flip a coin to settle the score. And it's actually like in a weird, cheeky, British, humorous way. I actually think that was a really powerful ending because the music settles down and it says that everyone who you've just met in this song, and you've met quite a few characters, everyone who you've met just died because the bosses didn't actually care about them. They flip a coin and, the big men move on with their life and blah, 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 blah. That ending is very in line with their kind of Monty Python-esque humor. They're like British dryness and absurdity.
Yeah, it does line up with that, doesn't it? Although Gabriel later goes back and says he finds it anticlimactic as an ending.
Oh.
So even he is sort of
three against me.
Shitting on his...
No, but then I would defend it to say that, like, I don't know how else you could end it, because it's like, oh, and then they, hugged it out, and then they, paid indemnities, or they, like, I don't know what it was going to be.
They all died.
That's about right.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it has that sort of silly, childish, Python-y style ending, yeah. It's, it's either a coin flip or a big foot squishes them, so.
Yeah, nice. The next part, and this really goes to the theatricality of this song, I think if this had been in Hamilton, we'd all be goddamn drooling about it. But for some reason, because it's on a normal album, not on Broadway, here we are making fun of all the voices. I don't know if you know Rent, but there's a stretch, actually it's a whole stretch in there. Christmas Bells, and then it goes into La Vie Bohème, and basically 8,000 things are happening, and all the characters are singing at each other. And that's what this reminds me of, where we drop in for like half a minute on like 8 characters. And I feel like had this been part of a normal musical, this would be an exceptional piece. I think we're primed to think this is a normal album, and then we're like, what the fudge happened here?
It's where it belongs, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've decided to make a musical piece for a track.
Yep.
It's funny you say that because actually the next song after The Ordeal, the first couple opening chords, I immediately wrote Hamilton. So I had that. I actually had that
so
thought
you were feeling the feeling
for the next song, not this one, but yeah.
Wait, I think I thought that same thing with Hamilton. That's really funny.
Really?
I actually don't think they meant it this way, but now we come to After the Ordeal, after Battle of Epping Forest. And this is very explicitly a Steve Hackett inclusion, where Steve was like, you have to take all my guitar songs and put them all on this one song. Take it. So they did. And I don't mind it. It was just that, like, in an already overstuffed album, this is the wafer thin mint at the end. It's just a little too much for my engorged belly.
I'm pretty sure it's on record of Banks and Peter Gabriel didn't want this song on the album, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this was no one except Steve wanted this song on the album, but Steve hadn't really done much on a compositional level yet on this album. And he's like, I'm going to make you guys put this on. And so he did. And that was that. So then we come on to the epic finisher of this album, Cinema. I don't even know what to say about the song because there's a lot in it. So it starts with like a personal scene of Romeo and Juliet. Then we get into the Father Tiresias stuff. And then we have a 5-minute instrumental outro. And in an album full of like just stuff, I actually find this to be the most easy to listen to song. I think this is probably the one I find to be the most enjoyable all the way through, even though it's like 10 minutes. I love the flute solo. I love the myths. I love the ending. I love it all. So I was like, the beginning of the song feels very Genesis-y, but I don't know what I mean by that.
So I think I understand what you mean by the beginning being Genesis-y. It's so similar to Firth of the Fifth in its beginning. So maybe it's just sort of a Genesis template in a way.
So having Peter Gabriel's voice front and center, and then the pseudo-medieval kind of backing, and then launching straight into, you know, in this case it's Romeo and Juliet, but like launching straight into a story feels just so Genesis-y. And I say that with love in my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing to talk about with this song is Father Tiresias. So I can't believe how powerful the Father Tiresias nonsense is, for the fact that I think they were just, again, playing Mad Libs with mythological sounding nonsense. So the backstory of Tiresias is he was the prophet of Apollo who saw some snakes getting it on and hit them with a stick. And then for this, Hera changed him into a woman. And then I don't know if he got changed back or something. But all the business about once as a man the sea I raged, once as a woman is the earth I gave, and I'm caught between the poles. There was something about that, like being a figure in transition that was like a really like psychedelic. I don't know. I don't know what it was about the thing. And, you know, Peter brings it off well.
I am going to disagree. I think Tiresias is, yes, he was transformed into a woman, but I think he's more famous for being a blind prophet. That's such a like fun juxtaposition that a blind man is the one who can see the future through visions. But you're right. Hera does transform him into a woman, right?
Yeah.
Because it starts with lyrics about, you know, Juliet and Romeo, and then throws in Tiresias, and it made me question my Shakespeare knowledge. I was like, is there a Tiresias in Shakespeare that I'm not aware of? And I had to look it up, and no, I could not find one. So saved my skin there. I really enjoyed the lyrics of this song, which is not surprising given how much I enjoy T.S. Eliot's poetry. And upon researching more into these lyrics, I learned that they were heavily influenced by T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, which is an excellent poem.
So what is the Wasteland about? Or I guess what's its like tenor, or what, you know, is it grumpy? Is it uplifting?
No, much of T.S. Eliot's poetry is not, except for he wrote Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats, which is a whole book of poems about cats, and they're amazing. And unfortunately, someone, Andrew Lloyd Webber, agreed and decided to write music to all of the poems, and that's how we got the musical Cats. You might remember, I think The Wasteland is one of his most famous poems. It opens with the line, "April is the cruelest month." I think that's one of T.S. Eliot's.
Line.
Yeah, I think that's one of T.S. Eliot's more famous lines. Lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain.
Okay. No, that's pretty lyric-y. Like that, as in that has a distinctly lyrical flavor. So not uplifting. Not very jellical, if I'm being honest.
No, I would say The Wasteland is mostly about being broken.
Okay. I guess related to the story thing, I approach the song more as opera. And this is, you know, where I kind of came upon that realization about this whole album. It flows between the parts. So there's not like an obvious riff. I'm like, hey, look, there's the riff. And not to say that doesn't happen in a lot of these songs. I think I just more approach this as a smooth 11-minute ride.
It is just a ride, isn't it? You just have to let it take you wherever the hell it's going, and that ends up being like 4 or 5 different places.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's difficult. I think I found this song one of the harder ones.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, I enjoy it, but I think because it goes to many different places. First, we're in the medieval times, and then it's kind of a bit like rocky with this, I don't know, maybe a Hammond organ or whatever it is, and keeps transitioning between these points. I think I no longer have something to hold on to in the track.
Yep.
And sometimes, personally, as a listener, I
get lost in the sauce.
I kind of get lost in the journey.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this song. I like the sharing of vocals by Gabriel and Collins. The keyboard solo was really enjoyable, and this is probably a good time to mention that this is a big showcase for the ARP Pro Soloist, which I know a few other bands have used, but it seems to be very much a Peter Banks kind of specialty, or signature sound, if you will, and apparently was originally marketed to home organists, which might give you an idea of why it sounds the way it does. I found one for sale in Canada for about 1,200 USD, but doesn't seem to be many around. The company doesn't exist anymore.
Home organists. That sounds like a oxymoron, not gonna lie.
Yeah, you're probably talking about the bit at the end where he's soloing away. So Mike says in his book, when they played this live, it would just be him, Phil, and Tony on stage, and he always remembered that being a really nice feeling, which obviously it will just be those three on stage at the end of Genesis's career. And I was going to say, I actually like the ending. I think the reason it sounds so good is, again, they kind of clear away. And in a overstuffed album, again, I think it's just really nice to have the clarity of that bit, because it's just Phil, Mike, and Tony. You know, it kind of like winds it down as well. And you can really hear Phil just beasting out on the drums.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one hell of a showcase.
Yeah. Yeah, so we wrap up Cinema Show to the album's finisher, Isle of Plenty, a little 1-minute outro, which, in terms of like percentage of goodness, is my favorite song on the album. I fucking love this song. It has the riff that I love so much from the Dancing with the Moonlit Night. It's basically just a bunch of puns about British grocery stores. And then the harmonies on top of it are just a grocery list. And that's it. That's the whole song. And yet it is absolutely transformative. Like, I feel like this is probably, you know, for an album, as we've talked about, that doesn't have really great endings, this is probably one of my favorite album enders of all time.
I like it too, you know. I like how they bring in motifs from Moonlit Night as well.
Yeah.
Just to kind of round it out. I always appreciate when they do that with an album. It feels like it's one whole package when they do stuff like that. Yeah, it's a good ender. It's a good bookend. A much more enjoyable listen for me than the one before, the Cinema Show. It's also like 2 minutes long, so yeah, and has significantly less solos.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a tenth of the length.
I know it's silly, but can you explain to our non-British audience the puns?
Yeah, so I Don't Belong Here, said Old Tessa out loud. So Easy Love, there's the Safeway. I mean, I think that works in America too. Safeway Home, Thankful for Her Fine Fare, which apparently is a thing, and Tesco. And then actually Co-op is yet another thing that we have in Britain. So that's 4 grocery stores right there.
Also, in the title itself is Isle of Plenty, but Isle is spelled Aisle. I thought this was a great bookend to the album. To your point, Ian, about kind of including some of the same little motifs of the first song, Dancing with the Moonlit Night. It was short and sweet, and I liked it.
Short and sweet. And I think Genesis probably does the best when they're somewhat on Earth and then doing puns. I feel like that's when Genesis shines. And so they brought it all together.
Peter Gabriel's Genesis.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You got to make sure you
gotta
include
put that
that.
line on the sand there.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what do we think of the title?
Wasn't it Labour Manifesto?
So tell me about, as in like, so I,
is this
because I
where
actually don't
I have
know.
to pull the England?
Well, you know, it's like, no, genuinely, I don't know much about English politics at this point. I think Ted Heath's in government.
Yeah. I mean, the short of it is there was a big concern at the time with transatlantic trade with America and how England would become, I don't know, a second class country to America, or the
lapdog of America.
Yes, like a state of America, not literally but figuratively. I think to some degree that still exists today, that concern.
Not that we're going to go down that deep rabbit hole, but yes, I suspect that is constantly a political tension between America and the UK.
This is the problem with trying to explain the joke, isn't it?
Well, no, the joke from the Labour Manifesto of 1973 or whatever will have been that the Conservative Party was going to sell Britain off to America by the pound.
Yeah.
Be that an American weight or in British weight. And then obviously the double entendre is, the Great British Pound as a as a currency.
Yeah.
So hilarity all around. There you go. So there's your political commentary for the day. But I think, like, obviously I don't remember it as the labor slogan of 1972. I think as a expression of weird and whimsical Englishness, like whatever they're trying to say in this album, a fantastic title.
I'm pretty sure I read this somewhere. This is not an original thought of mine, but the title kind of reflects this battle between the English and American sounds. And we noted at the beginning of this episode, there were the madrigal-esque Renaissance flute solos with the contemporary electric guitar instrumentals, and kind of this battle of old England versus new American rock and roll.
I mean, if that's not what they had thought, that is a good idea as to what they had thought. Someone had mentioned at some point how very British they sound. And you'll notice that there isn't any blues on this album. That they've kept it real madrigal. You know, there's lots of kind of hymny stuff. There's lots of madrigal-y stuff. There's lots of like doodly-doodly-doo folky stuff. But there is no blues on this album. And no country western or anything that would be American-ish. Which is why I think it sounds so unbelievably British. And then I also think Peter sings in sometimes a very affected, but, you know, whatever, British accent. So that was Selling England by the Pound for now. So at the end of all of it, highlights?
Unsurprisingly for me, my highlights are Phil Collins. I loved More Fool Me. I think that might be my favorite song on the album.
Perfectly fair. Highlights, Brian?
I think my highlights are Tony Banks and Steve Hackett and their instrumental prowess.
Yeah, I think, I wouldn't say highlights, but I really appreciate how they've taken their earlier sound and matured it. And it really benefits from that.
Yeah. Even though there's a density of ideas in this album, I personally didn't get tired. I had fun the whole time.
Yeah. It was a great listen.
So there you go.
It was a great listen.
Any other thoughts?
Can I quote Rush drummer Neil Pearl?
Yeah. Start that again. Go.
I thought you were making fun of me.
The sun is in my eyes.
Yeah.
You can literally see. Rush drummer Neil Peart has said, I think Selling England by the Pound is an enduring masterpiece of drumming. Beautiful drumming, lovely sound, and the arrangements. I think they really nailed the best of what that band as an entity could have done with that album.
I fully agree with Neil.
His friends call him Pearl.
Neil Pearl. I do like the idea that there's some guy dining off of that name somewhere else. So that has been it for Selling England by the Pound. I have been your host, Ian Prize, and I want to thank my guests, Anne.
Thank you so much.
Brian.
Always a pleasure.
And Rufus.
Thank you very much.
Do find us on Instagram at ProgFrogPod, and if you have any longer thoughts or queries, hit us up at helloprogfrog@gmail.com. So, Genesis has completed their prog masterpiece, and as with the rest of the bands we'll talk about this season, the next question was how to top it. For the theatrically inclined Peter Gabriel, there was but one answer, a full-on rock opera. To this end, the gang wrote The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, a crazy 2-album fever dream of Rael's journey through New York City. It was a fan favorite, but it was not an Ian favorite. So we'll be catching up with a Gabriel-less Genesis for 1976, Trick of the Tail. But next week, we will retain literally all of our masses as we conceive an answer to the dream. That is, yes is close to the edge. We'll see you then. But But I looked outside, there was nothing there. So it's like haunted by a phantom Zamboni.